if you get accepted or not?
I'm sorry.
What determines if you get accepted? Because I'm disabled, and
again, that's
told me that I have a good chance. Now, I don't know if is that true or not.
So, it could be. So, disability in many cases is a preference that and waiting list management for some housing authorities, but it's not across all.
Okay.
So if you have a disability, you want to make sure that you communicate that in your application. Just look for in the application, whether it's online or on paper, you want to look for anything that asks you if you're disabled, because that might give you some priority and put you in front of the list.
I believe that.
But if, let's say they only are taking 1,000 people for the waiting list, and there's 10,000 people that apply, and there's 1,000 people that are disabled, that still means you might be number 1,000 when they do the random sort. So don't think that just because you meet one of their preferences, you're going to be at the very tip top of the list. You may be somewhere down below.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right. So Beverly Kerr. Beverly Kerr, you're on deck. I'm going to go ahead and accept your Blab request. Beverly, you still there? All right, I'm going to move on to Shamika Middleton. Oh, there's Beverly. Hi, Beverly. Beverly, I think you might have the same problem as I. I can't hear. Okay. I'm sorry, Beverly. I can't hear you. No. Same problem as me. You can ask your question over on the side, and then if you get your sound back, go ahead and I'll let you back in. Okay.
Okay.
Shamika?
Yeah.
Hi, Shamika.
Can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me?
We can. How are you?
Good, and yourself?
All right.
I can't hear you.
Good. You're dropping in.
Okay, now
you're dropping in and out, but hopefully. Okay. So, Shamika, what's your question? I'm sorry, Shamika. The connection is really bad. Maybe we try to get you back in once your data connection is better. Teresa, I'm going to bring you in, Teresa. Teresa Laguna, connecting you now. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Robert Freeman. Bear with me, everyone. This is the first time we've really done this with multiple parties. So I brought in Robert Freeman.
Hi.
Hi, who's
Teresa
this?
Laguna.
Hi, Teresa. What's your question?
Well, I've been waiting in San Diego area for like almost 8 years. They say I'm close, but how do they go, about doing it in everywhere, or is there a place I can go where disability is they'll help you, because I'm disabled.
Okay, so are you talking about the voucher program? You're talking about the voucher program?
6 and 8 voucher program.
And I'm sorry, you said you're in San Diego,
Well,
is that right?
I've been in San Diego for 8 years now. But I
Okay.
also applied where I lived before in Tucson and in Fresno, where my daughter
Mhm.
lives, because I didn't know you could do that until recently.
You didn't know that you could apply to multiple housing
Yeah,
authorities.
one of your emails.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. Well, first of all, San Diego is open all the time. Both the city of San Diego and San Diego County, their Section 8 waiting list is always open. Personally, I kind of like it the way they do that, because at least you have some hope that you can apply for something. The problem with that is that when it's always open, everyone finds out about it, and everyone in need ends up on the waiting list, and so then it ends up being a really, really long wait. So I can understand that you're waiting for 8 years for San Diego. Can't remember if San Diego or even San Diego County, which, remember, there are two different housing authorities, two different waiting lists there. So if you're not on one of them, you should apply to the other, even though I'm sure it's a similar wait. You can, like you found out through our site, you can apply to any waiting list in the country, and you can apply to 50 if you want, and whichever one calls you first, you can take. You just have to be willing to move there for 1 year before you can take it back, say, to San Diego.
Yeah, any of those places I'm willing to move for a year.
Yeah, so I would suggest that you monitor our site. We send an email every Wednesday, sent it out, I don't know, half an hour ago. We send out localized alerts if you've registered for our mailing list, and our mailing list software knows where you are when you register. We'll send out an alert to folks within a certain radius when something opens, when it's closing, the day it opens. And so that's a localized alert, but that's automatic. You just sign up for the mailing list and we kind of know where you're at. But if you're looking for something outside of something that's 10 or 20 miles from where you are, then you're better off to monitor us on Twitter. We do an automatic Twitter post every time we find an opening, the day that an opening actually opens up, and then the day that it's closing, just to remind you. So you have that way of monitoring. And again, we have a team that is monitoring all the time the Section 8 waiting list openings across the country, so that you don't have to, because it's really, they can open up in a day or two. In fact, sometimes we find openings that opened yesterday that we didn't know about, because they put it in the print edition of the newspaper. Nobody reads that anymore, by the way. So we might find out about it through a user who sends us a picture on Facebook saying, hey, by the way, it opened up here, and they didn't tell anybody on the internet. If you stay in tune with us, if you come back to our Section 8 waiting list page, if you sign up for our email list and follow us on Twitter, you should most of the time know about anything that opens up.
Yeah, I talked to somebody, and every time I talk to somebody, ask them how's it going. When nobody tells me nothing, they say they can't tell you anything. But one time, I talked to one girl who, she had my same last name. We got into talking. She was really nice, and she says, well, the last time they pulled in half of the year that you applied in. So that's what she told me, but I haven't been able to get a hold of her again to ask. But I guess that means I'm close or something.
That sounds kind of strange, but some housing authorities are very, very open and will tell you where you are on the list. For example, I can tell you that King County, Washington, is a very tech-savvy housing authority. Their website is pretty incredible, and in fact, you can go, if you've already applied, you can go on their site, and even if you haven't applied, I can go on there and see how many people are on their waiting list, and approximately, can kind of estimate how long it's going to take. But many housing authorities that have online systems, their software packages that they use, that they're buying from third-party software vendors, actually let you go and check where you're on the list. Unfortunately, some of the smaller housing authorities don't have that technology, and with thousands of people on their waiting list, if they were to answer the phone and and look up everyone on their paper list, it would take a couple of full-time employees, and they don't have those resources, so they end up saying, we can't help you. That's very discouraging for someone in need, because then you don't know, am I on the list? Did they lose my name? Is it next month? Is it next year? Is it 5 years from now? You have no feedback. And it's unfortunate that that's the way it's done. My hope is that in the near future, all housing authorities will be doing it online. It costs less for them to do it, even for a smaller housing authority. And for you, the user, you get so much more feedback. And I'm an advocate that HUD should be requiring housing authorities to manage their waiting lists online. And if anybody listening thinks that that's the case, then hit those two little hands down the bottom screen to agree with me. But we recently wrote a blog post about that, about the problems associated with waiting list openings that are in person. It's sometimes it's actually inhumane what folks are put through just to apply for assistance, having to line up the night before for a waiting list opening that the housing authority didn't plan for, and end up having the police called, and they wonder why there are confrontations when they're making 100 vouchers available to 5,000 people. So to answer your question, it might be pretty difficult to find out exactly where you are on the list. If you really want to push matters, you might write them a letter, even spend the $4 or $5 to do a certified letter to get a green card back, to just at least confirm you're on the list. If knowing is really that important to you, you might want to even think about doing that.
They said I am on the list. She tells me I am on the list because this one got there for 7 years. Now it's 8 to 10 years. But I had just one last question. Is once they call me, I ask them, well, what are you guys going to do? What do I have to do? Because I am there like most of the time, but I come to visit my family. I don't work and I'm disabled. I do come to visit my family maybe for a month or 2 months, and then I go back. But I have my address over there. They don't tell me like what they ask for, what do they want when I come back.
Yeah, and you really need to be prepared, because what's going to happen is you're going to get a letter where they're not going to ask you if you're able to attend the appointment. They're going to say, you must be here on this day at this time for your appointment, for your interview. And if you're away visiting family for a month and the letter goes to your house and you don't have mail forwarded to you, or you don't have someone checking the mail, you're going to miss that appointment and you're going to lose that voucher, and you'll have waited 8 years for nothing. So the first thing is to make sure that your contact information is up to date. The second thing is to make sure if you're going to be away from home for more than a week, then make sure it's properly forwarded, or you have a friend that's checking your mail, making sure that any notice that comes in is caught. And then thirdly, you need to be prepared for what's going to happen once they call, because when a housing authority calls you and says, hey, your name's up on the list, we've got a voucher for you, you got to go to that meeting with them. You've got to find a rental, and finding rentals that accept Section 8 these days, if you're not in one of the 19 or 20 jurisdictions that have a law against discriminating against people with Section 8 vouchers, if you're in one of those areas that doesn't prevent discrimination, then you might have only 60 or 90 days to find a rental. So you really need to have a game plan. What are you going to do when that clock starts to tick? You really should, for example, keep monitoring your local rental stock. Know what neighborhood you're going to be wanting to move into, and just keep watching the rental ads, and make sure you check to see what the landlords are saying. If they say no Section 8 in the specific neighborhood, then, and which is very unfortunate, and I hope that also I hope that the federal government eventually passes a non-discrimination law like Chicago and Austin, Texas, and Washington, Oregon have passed that prevents discrimination based on income. Again, if you agree with me, hit those props down at the bottom. That's something I think the federal government should be eventually stepping in and saying, look, landlords, you can't discriminate against someone just because they have a voucher. So anyway, I hope that answered your questions.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I just kind of wanted to know what is all the process the same? What do they ask you? What are the paper? What are the kind of stuff? Or
generally, yeah, they're gonna want to see your income information. They're going to want to see your household makeup. They're going to want your kids' social security numbers. They're going to do jobs. If you have employment, they're going to check your employer status. If you're disabled, they're going to want to see any certifications as to that. It's pretty much the same across the board because it is a federal program, so they have the same standards at the federal level that they have to meet. So you should be prepared with all that paperwork and just make sure you know where it's at.
okay, I got that all. I know
Okay.
place already that I rent there. I'm living with somebody there, and that I can go ahead and they'll pay. And if I just had somebody that one of them are open, and Section 8 comes through.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the most important thing for you, Teresa, is just to stay prepared. Make sure that your contact information is up to date, and if you leave to go visit family, make sure that you're forwarding your mail and be ready with a list of rentals that you're interested in and all your paperwork when you go in. Good luck.
Thank you very much. You have a nice day.
You too, Teresa. Okay, Robert Freeman. Let's try you again, Robert. I tried to patch you in earlier and it didn't work. So let's try again.
Yes, hello.
And Jay Brewer, you're next on my list. If I can't get through to Robert, we'll move on to Jay Brewer.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Robert.
Good.
Good. How you doing?
So I just had a question. Basically, I live in New Jersey. I am not on Section 8, but I am starting to sign up for low-income housing. Now, started doing this process. Basically, what I wanted to know is, like, what do they determine you? Like, if you're on a waiting list for affordable housing, like now I'm on a waiting list on a property in New Brunswick, but I'm on the number that I am is 44. How long would you say that duration is for people to wait?
Oh, that's a very common question, and that is nearly an impossible question to answer, and I'll tell you why. It sounds like it's an individual property, an individual apartment complex that you've applied to. Is that
yes,
correct?
Well, yes, it is, and I'm starting to do the.
Is it Section 8? Do you know? Is it a Section 8 project-based property?
Yes, it is. But what I'm signing up for, since I don't have Section 8, I am working out. But it is. I'm signing up for the low-income subsidized apartment, basically.
Yeah. So what you've applied for is something called project-based Section 8, and it's same principle as the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which we talk a lot more about. But what happens is, and that program is it's a little smaller than the Housing Choice Voucher Program, but it works almost exactly the same with one exception, and that is that subsidy stays with that property instead of you, the tenant, being able to take it with you when you move. If you move from that property, that subsidy stays with that particular unit you were living in, and the next person that lives there gets the benefit of that subsidy. So if they told you, do you have any idea how large the property is? How many units are in the property?
Right. They didn't say how much properties they have. Basically, it goes off of that waiting list, determining how long it takes before either someone moves.
Mm-hmm. The reason I ask is you said that you're number 44 on the list. If the property only has 40 units, I'm going to tell you you're going to be waiting a really long time. But if the property has 400 units, your wait time would be significantly less. So if it's a really large apartment community with a large Section 8 contract, and there's only 44 people on the list, it would be much shorter. I think really in your case, the easiest way is just call the property manager and say, can you give me an idea? I'm not asking you to make any kind of commitments. Can you give me an idea of how long it will take for you to get to 44 to number 44 on this waiting list? And I know we have in my affordable housing business, we own properties that have Section 8 contracts, and we're happy to let people know about how long we think the waiting list is. I'll tell you that most Section 8 properties have waiting lists that usually don't go past 2 to 3 years. It's not like the Housing Choice Voucher Program where it can be 8 years. So you should probably just call the property and say, do you know about how long it would take to get to number 44 on the list?
Okay, because usually, well, when I had called before, I remember someone saying, based on that Section 8 housing, I believe they told me the wait for that commonplace would be 2 to 4 years or something around that.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. I know New Jersey is a very tight rental market, and waiting lists there don't open very often. And I know that project-based Section 8 properties in New Jersey have longer waiting lists than maybe some other places in the country. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was 3 or 4 years. That's a little bit longer than let's say your average Section 8 property elsewhere, but I wouldn't be surprised. But you should just call them. And if it's been a while since you last talked to them, just call them, find out where you are on the list. Maybe you're not 44 anymore, and then also ask them how long they think the waiting list is.
Okay, and there was just one more question I had. I know that you guys usually update either a Section 8 waiting list. Do you know, like, how long typically it takes for New Jersey and major cities, basically either Newark or Plainfield or something like that, how long they usually take to open their waiting lists, or is it any more places where you can sign up?
So I think the question, and you were a little bit garbled, but I think your question was, how often do cities or housing authorities open their Housing Choice Voucher Section 8 waiting list?
Yes, basically in New Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I think that was a question from one of our earlier guests, and it's really unpredictable. But again, they open their waiting list. HUD allows them to close their waiting list when they reach. I think it's 24 months worth of applicants, but don't quote me. It's 12 or 24 months worth of applicants. So then they can close the waiting list, and they don't have to open it back up until they get down to really months worth of applicants. So it's completely unpredictable because every market's different. In Chicago and Atlanta and New York City, the demand for housing is much, much higher than it is in parts of West Virginia or Ohio. So every housing authority is different. You really have to monitor them all. A good way to monitor them is follow us, follow our Section 8 waiting list page, follow us on Twitter. We send alerts out for every single opening on Twitter. We also on Facebook as well.
Okay, and just another one. Say, I know, or if you're not on Section 8 and you're just looking for something affordable, what would that be calling in? Like, if you want to sign up for basically affordable, any affordable housing.
What's it called? You were garbled. Sorry.
Yes. Basically what I was asking is, what is it called when?
Robert.
Hello.
Okay, I think we lost Robert. I'm gonna move on. If Robert, if you can still hear me and you have that question, you can go ahead and post it over on the right side, and we'll get to it. Hope Krisham, you're next. I'm gonna go ahead and accept your call in, and let's see if this works. Hope, are you there? We're connecting, it looks like. Sela Avery, I have you as the next caller. If you want to get ready, if I can't get connected with Hope. Yeah, it looks like Hope's gone. Sela, I'm going to try you. So while we're waiting to get Sela connected, I'm going to ask everybody to give me to help me out. If you find this valuable, answering questions, give me some props. Let me know that I'm doing the right thing here. And then also, we have a lot of people watching this Blab right now. I'm amazed. We have 1,572 people watching. I got an email last night from Blab saying that the record was set the other night with like 2,000 or 2,300. So it's pretty amazing that the second time we tried this, we're getting this kind of response. And I'm gonna ask you a favor. If what we're doing right now is valuable, send a quick text or email to your friends. Send them this link. Let them know to come in and join in and ask me a question. I'm going to go on to. It doesn't look like we're able to connect with Sela. I'm going to go on to my next caller. I have 10 people in the queue. Judy Campbell. Let's try Judy. Seems like every person I try. Miss Jazzy. Let's try Miss Jazzy. Again, this is a fairly new technology, as you could see from my first 4 minutes of silence. So bear with me as I learn how to work this system and get people connected in. I'm going to go ahead and accept the next couple of requests just to get people on screen, and I'll get you on screen, and then I'll mute you until I'm ready. Let's see if that works better. Hey, there we go. There we have one. Hi, Hope. We can't hear you. Seems to be a common theme today. I'm going to try and go ahead and patch in LaTanya McCain. Sela, we can't hear you, but you might have to turn your mic on.
It's on. Can you hear me?
LaTanya?
Hello? Hello?
Hang on. I think I'm the one with the audio problem.
Hello?
Hey guys. Yeah, I can't hear anyone right now.
This is bad.
Can you have audio for me?
Yes, hello?
Oh, okay. So I can't hear anyone else. I'm the one without audio. That's funny.
Hello?
1 second. LaTanya, 1 second. Let me see if I can figure out why I don't have audio. Okay. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, so I can get rid of those stupid headphones. My microphone works now. That's great.
Hi,
hello? LaTanya.
I have a question.
So what can...
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I was asking what your question was.
I was on Section 8 since 2005 in Florida, almost 10 years. And I been calling a lot to talk to them about where I'm at on the list since I've been on there for 10 years. And no one has given me any answers. So I'm just trying to figure out why so long to send me something to tell me, oh, you need to update your information, but you haven't answered none of my questions about where I'm at on the list. What can I do to improve my information? But they just send me something and I'm like, okay. So I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So this is it's a pretty common problem, especially in larger cities that have really long waiting lists that are taking many, many years to get through. And in defense of the housing authority, they have a huge number of people that need housing assistance and a very small funding pool in which to serve those people. And on top of that, they don't have that many administrative monies to manage the others that are waiting, on the list. So when you call, remember that there's 1,000 other people calling that day to find out where they were on the list, and it can become overwhelming for them. And it's really a problem. It's a nationwide problem, and I know it can be frustrating. But remember that the housing authority really is there to help, but sometimes they don't have the resources to do so. But it's also, and then again, the responsibility is on you to make sure that your contact information is up to date. So you really do need to be getting in touch with them.
I have talked to them several times about my contact information. I did a phone interview with them and everything, and I gave them updated information. It's like this is the only time that they had to send me a paper saying that, okay, we need more information. Can you update it? But after the phone interview, shouldn't be any paper should be sent to me after you had gotten a phone interview from me in the beginning of the year.
So you saying you had a phone interview with them that was just to update your file?
Yeah, to update my file and my information. And now I'm getting a paper Monday, August 31st, stating that, we need more information. But you asked me all these questions, and now you're asking for more information.
Are they asking the same questions in that letter?
Yeah, the same questions that they asked me in the phone interview that they asked me in the letter.
So it sounds like, and again, remember that they're dealing with thousands of people. It sounds like that there may have been an administrative issue where the person who was asking you the questions didn't properly enter it into the database, or there's some kind of competing systems where you've got people updating stuff via phone, but then you've got people updating via letter, and it's not the same people. I think that I know it's frustrating, but I think really what you have to do to make sure that you stay on that list and that you don't get kicked off is whatever that letter asks you to do it. Even if you've already done it, take the time, give them that information, send it, put a stamp on the envelope and mail it to them just to make sure that you respond to them, because they can say, if they send you that letter and you say, I'm not going to respond, I talked to them 2 weeks ago, no big deal. Well, if you don't respond to that letter, then they can say, well, she didn't respond, we're going to purge her from the list. And one of the reasons why lists become short quickly is something called purges, where a housing authority will send out a letter to everyone on the list. They send 10,000 letters out, and you haven't received anything for 2 years from them. They'll send out 10,000 letters to 10,000 people on the waiting list. And then they'll say, you have 2 weeks to get back to us. And if you don't get back to us, we're removing you from the list. And those letters go undeliverable. We had an earlier caller that leaves for a month to go visit family, and things like that, you didn't get the letter. Next thing you know, you've been waiting 8 years. Now you're purged from the list. So you need to make sure that if they send you a letter, you respond to it, no matter how ridiculous it seems.
Oh, yeah. I filled it out and put it in the mailbox like a week ago. And
you did the right thing.
But I'm just saying that after giving them countless of information over the phone, it's kind of irritating. And with that, it's just like, okay, you're not giving me the information I want. I understand there's thousands and thousands of people before me, and I was like the third on the list. Now I don't know where I'm at.
Yeah. I also, one other possibility is to write them a letter. Write a letter and address it to the executive director of the housing authority and make it human and say, I understand you have thousands of people you serve, but it would really help the people you serve if we had at least some kind of feedback as to where we are. When is the assistance going to be there? Is it? And just give us a rough estimate. Is it in the next year? Is it in the next 3 years? In the next 5 years? So, if you're not getting any help from the person at the front counter or whoever picks up the phone when you call, maybe write a letter and see if that helps. I know it's frustrating, and the larger the city that you're in, the more difficult this might be.
Yeah, because I have called and I had talked to the center director several times, and I said, well, I'm not getting the information I need to know where I'm at on the list. I'm sending you information, but you're not giving me what I need. And that's not fair.
Yeah.
I'm asking you, okay, where am I at? Where's this? Where's that? What do I need to do to improve my standing on this? I'm giving you all the information. I'm unemployed. I'm already not getting any help. The house that I'm living in is falling apart, and I hope I don't end up on the street. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, it's the housing authority's job. They're there. It's their mission to make sure that that doesn't happen. It's HUD's job to make sure that doesn't happen. We're doing everything we can from our perspective to make sure that you have all the information you need to make sure that doesn't happen. And I think, again, you know, it's touching to hear the human voice say, I'm worried about what's going to happen to me. So the next time you call and the receptionist picks up or whatever, tell them that. Don't tell them you're upset that they didn't call you or they're not giving you information. Tell them that you really don't know what you're going to do and you just need them to give you some indication of where you are. And I think that alone would probably be more. They'd be more inclined to help than if it was just a business call where you were saying, "Hey, I want this information."
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, Hope. Let's try you again. It looks like you're next in the queue. Hope Christian. I'm gonna go ahead and accept Sela.
Yes. Hi. Hello. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, great. Thank you. Hi, how you doing today? Okay, my question is, I had Section 8 for 14 years, and I lived in New York, and I moved to New Jersey. Well, the year that I moved to New Jersey, I received a letter from Section 8 saying that I owed them $2,000. We made a payment plan, and I paid them off some of the money, but then I got into hardship where I wasn't able to finish paying them off. So I ended up losing the Section 8 and moving back to New York. And I just wanted to know if I was to pay them the balance off, would they reinstate my Section 8 or can I reapply?
I'm sorry, I may have missed. When did they take the Section 8 voucher from you? How long ago?
This is 2013. December of 2013.
Okay. I don't think I'm going to have good news for you, but let me give you a little bit of background. One way in which you can be disqualified from receiving a new Section 8 voucher, and there are actually very few ways that they can disqualify you. One of them is any like criminal record stuff, like felonies, certain types of felonies. Or is one way, and one other way is if you owe any money to a housing authority, any housing authority. So if you owe money to a housing authority in New Jersey and you're applying in Nebraska, and that housing authority in Nebraska knows that you owe money to a housing authority in New Jersey, that will actually keep you out of qualifying for a voucher. So the first step is to make sure that you don't owe anything. So I know you said you were on a payment plan. Did you get them?
Yes, I was on a payment plan, and I paid them off. I paid them around $600 of the $2,000 I owed them. First of all, I still have no idea why I owed them the money, because even when they told me to go back to New York to find out why do I owe them money. I came back to New York, went to the Section 8 housing in New York, and they said all my records and stuff was in archives, and they couldn't give me an explanation why I owed the money. Nobody ever gave me an explanation of why I owed the money. So I did the agreement with the payment plan. I paid them back $600 of it. But unfortunately, I went into a hardship where I couldn't afford to keep paying them off, my rent, utilities, bills, and taking care of my daughter. And so what happened was, are you still there? Hello? 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 happened? Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Hang on one second.
All right.
So one second.
All right.
You're back. You're back on my headphones. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Let me get you on the speakers. One second.
Okay, no problem.
Let's see here. Output. Internal speakers. Hello.
Yes.
Okay. You're going for my speakers.
You can hear me now.
But okay. Yeah. So let me finish answering the question. So first of all, you really should know why you owed them money before you pay them. And you've already kind of signed a settlement agreement, but it might be too late there. In a case like that, and anyone else who's listening that might have that situation, I would recommend that you contact a legal aid attorney or something to help you understand why they're saying that you owe them $2,000 in the first place. Unfortunately, that's probably water on the bridge, under the bridge for you now, since you agreed to a settlement agreement of sorts, it sounds like. Though it also probably wouldn't hurt to contact a legal aid attorney just to explain it and maybe get a real legal opinion instead of from me, because I'm not a lawyer. Once you've paid off that debt to the housing authority, then you could qualify to apply for a new voucher. But unfortunately, you can't get that old voucher back. You lost that in 2013, and the bad news is I think that voucher, you've lost that voucher. You have to reapply, unless this legal if a legal aid attorney could establish that you didn't owe this money and you were taken advantage of or whatever, the housing authority made a mistake, and a case could be made that that it caused you to lose a voucher when you shouldn't have. So I think at this point, your only course of action may be to contact a legal aid attorney, probably in the place in which wherever the housing authority is that said you owed them.
Okay, great. Because, yeah, to this day, I really don't know why I owed them the money, but I paid them back some of it. But due to hardship, I couldn't afford to keep paying them back the money. So I ended up losing my Section 8. So I was wondering also, yes, if I paid them back, because I plan on paying them back the balance, I can reapply for Section 8.
Yes. Yeah. If you don't owe it, once you've paid back any due funds to a housing authority anywhere in the country, you have to be able to prove that. So make sure you keep whatever forms of payment you use. Make sure you keep proof.
Receipts. Yes.
Yeah, and then you can reapply.
Okay, great. Okay, great. I'll just be back on the waiting list. I'm fine with that. Thank you so much for your help.
Thank you.
Okay, bye now.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Hope. Okay, I am back on this stupid headset and I don't know why. So give me 30 seconds to see if I can figure out how to get back on my other speakers so I don't hear an echo 5 seconds later, guys. 1 second. Sound. And this isn't Blab's fault. This is mine. Sometimes I'm not very tech savvy. Hello? If you can still hear me, can you give me some props down at the bottom there? Yeah. Okay, good. All right. I'm going to keep on going with the headset next to me, but I don't have any audio on my laptop. Josh, if you're listening, or I hear that the vice president of Blab is on here monitoring. If you've got any advice, Josh, if you can let me know how I might fix this. I'm going to go on to Honey. Oh wait, Sela, are you there, Sela? All right, I think Sela's gone. I'm going to accept. Honey. I'm going to go ahead and bring Susie, there's Sela again. And then I'm going to bring Susie in.
Hi.
All right, whoever makes it. Hi, Sela.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing?
Can you hear me?
You're not, are you driving?
No, I'm just sitting in my car.
Okay, no driving allowed.
Right.
What you got? What kind of question you got for me?
My husband and I are getting ready to move to Long Beach, California from Georgia. How does that work with the portability?
You have a voucher right now?
Yes.
It is, it can be daunting.
Okay.
But you're within your rights as a voucher holder to do so. The federal regulation, the law itself allows you to do it. It's called portability. And it's interesting. HUD just released a final rule. I think it was last Wednesday or maybe Wednesday before, and I'm working on a blog post that interprets that regulatory change for low-income voucher holders to understand what it means to you. But you have to deal with both the housing authority you're departing and the housing authority that you want to move to.
Right.
You should start with the housing authority in Long Beach. And I'm sorry, where were you moving to?
I'm moving to Long Beach probably, and from Georgia.
Oh, you're coming from Georgia to Long Beach. Okay, so then you should start with Georgia.
Yeah.
And start with Georgia. Let them know that you want to port and you want to port to Long Beach, and that housing authority in Georgia has to contact the housing authority in Long Beach. Now that's where it can get complicated, because if the housing authority in Georgia, so understand that when you take a voucher away from Georgia, the housing authority can tell the housing authority you're leaving, oh, we're not going to pay for her housing. You have to pay for it. We're going to bill you because we don't have any money in our budget. Well, the housing authority in Georgia, they want to house people in Georgia. They don't want to house people in Long Beach, California. So if the housing authority in Long Beach says we'll absorb, you'll hear the word absorb, then it's a lot easier for you, because then there's no discussion, right? The housing authority in Long Beach says, we're going to bring her into our program and we're going to pay for the housing voucher ourselves. You don't have to worry about that, Georgia. So first of all, and this new federal rule that came out last week, a week before, really goes into detail on that. And frankly, I've read the rule once, and I myself am having trouble understanding everything, how that might affect you. But the very first step that you need to take is to talk to the housing authority in Georgia and find out what's going to be their reaction when you say you want to move to another region.
Okay. So I talk very closely with my the person that comes to see me every 6 months, and she's very helpful with that. So she's already given me actually a portability form. So
okay.
Yeah. So she's just. So I already have the form. I just need to now let her know the place, and they'll contact them, right? And then go ahead.
You need to know specifically the housing authority that you want to go to. That you have to know that.
I don't know. I guess Long Beach is a big place, so I need to figure out.
I'll tell you what, at the end of the Blab, we'll post a link to the housing authority you should talk to. Josh or Nate up front, could you guys make sure that you post a link for Sela at the end of the Blab for Long Beach, California?
Cool.
All right.
Cool. So they must have several different ones there.
Hold on. What's that? Which state? It's Long Beach, California.
Yes.
Long Beach, California, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll post a link to the Housing Authority profile on our site that you should talk to.
Oh, okay.
How's
Is there
that?
any way that that it can be directly emailed to me?
Yes. If you can, well, I don't want you to post your email address like that. If you send an email to info@affordablehousingonline.com, info at affordablehousingonline.com, and tell us that, we'll send you a link. How's that? But we'll post it we'll post it down in the comments here too. And this link is good when this Blab is over. We're live right now, but it's being recorded, and so you can come back and view it, and you can also read the comment stream,
cool.
and you'll see the link.
Do
there.
that. Do that. Post that link for me there. Yeah. Or are you talking about posting the email address or the link? Which one?
Don't post your email address, but we'll post the link for you in the comment stream on this
Thank
Blab.
you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Now you can go drive to wherever you need to drive to.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Bye.
Okay. See ya. Thank you.
Hi, how are
Hi,
you?
Susie. Hey, you know what? I don't make my bed every morning, so don't worry about it.
Listen, my question is, I live in an apartment complex right now that takes Section 8 and takes subsidy. My husband and I are both on disability. Right now, we are not paying we're paying top dollar rent. If something should happen to one of us, I would not be able, or he would not be able to afford this apartment. They had that subsidy where you can get on a list or whatever. I forget Section 8 in Jersey. What do I do?
Okay, first of all, is the apartment community that you're living in, that you're referring to, is it an affordable apartment community now? Okay, and so do other residents in your building have
exactly.
Rental
and the way it
assistance?
works is if somebody moves or if somebody passes away, then you move up on the list. If you are.
Okay, and so are you on that list?
Are
you on that list now?
Right now, the only assistance I get is through our medical expenses.
Okay, but are you on the list at the apartment community for whenever someone moves to receive assistance, or are you making
exactly?
Too much money
I'm right above the standard.
Okay. So, how big is the property and how many apartments are there? Okay, so usually the way it's going to work, I think you should be okay, but you really should just go talk to the property manager. Usually they're going to be very helpful and explain how it works, but usually this is how it's going to work. If you are meeting the income qualification to live there right now, but are over the income required to receive a rental assistance subsidy, and then one of you stops working or you retire, your income changes, then you become eligible. And so you're going to go onto that list, that waiting list. You may not be on there now because you don't qualify for it, but when that income event happens, you go onto that list. Hopefully, the amount of time it takes from the time you go on that list to the time it gets down to you isn't that long. You would take priority over someone from the outside, right? So if someone applied from the outside and didn't live there, you would take priority over them on that waiting list.
Right now, when I recertify every year, the only thing that we get is we have our medical taken off of our gross income, which brings us down to so that we could stay here, because you can only make so much money, and that's how it works at this particular point. My fear is that.
Yeah, so like I think you live in a project-based Section 8 property. Probably it sounds like how that would work. And so once your income changed, you should immediately notify the property manager that your income has changed, they would do a recertification and then put you on that subsidy waiting list, and then you would be the last among all the other residents that were in that same situation, but you would be before anyone from the outside.
Can they legally throw me out, or my husband if he passes, or whatever? I mean, can they do that if your income changes with beyond your means? I mean, if it happens, it happens. We're both on disability, and one of us is sicker than the other. If it happens, can they just throw you out?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know that I've ever heard of that happening. And that I think you should just go to the property manager and ask that very question. What would happen? What has happened to other people in that situation? I don't think, property managers tend to be extremely compassionate. Affordable housing professionals and owners are all very compassionate. We're in this business to help people, and I don't think anyone wants that to happen. So I would first go to the property manager. In the meantime, Nate, Josh, remind me to try and look this issue up to see what the actual regulatory procedure might be, and we'll try and get back to you and answer that question. Maybe I can answer it it will be a lengthy answer, but I cannot answer it live. I don't know the details, but I promise you I'll get you something.
Thank you very much.
Okay, have a good day. Okay, 6 more people. We got Honey. I'm going to try and bring you back in. We have 1,650 people watching. I was hoping to hit 2,000. Tell your friends about this. I'm happy to sit here all afternoon and answer questions. But I am expected home at 6 o'clock for dinner. So,
good, how are you?
Hello, Honey. How you doing?
So I have a question.
Good.
I've been on
what kind of question you have for me?
wait list in Boston for about 7 years, and I recently went online and the status changed from waiting to processing, and I also received a update form in the mail for the housing authority. So my question.
I'm sorry. What housing authority again? You broke up there.
I've called 100 times, just like everybody else, and I don't get any information on where I am or what the status is. So when I submitted the update form, that's when my status changed to process. So I'm just wondering, does that mean that housing should be available soon, or is it just they're just processing the updates of my form?
The word processing is this context is very promising.
Okay.
I think, but we really need to get them to confirm that. But to me, it would mean that you were on the waiting list, you made it to the top, and now they've got to process your paperwork, which there's a whole process. Once you get to the top of the waiting list, they still have a bunch of paperwork they have to do, because remember when you apply to the waiting list, many of them, remember how easy it was? It was one page. You had, you filled out your contact information and your income and your kids' names, and that was it. Well, they've got to do income verifications. They send letters to your employers. They'll do a criminal background check. There's all that kind of stuff that is part of the process. So I think most of the time they call that processing. So I think it's a good thing. You're probably close to having a voucher. I would just follow whatever directions they're giving to you in that letter, any communication. Do exactly what they say, and then you might want to start making sure that you know about where you want to rent. Because remember, most of the time you have 60 to 90 days to find a rental, and then you're going to lose that voucher. And in some parts of the country, that's a real problem. I think it's in Chattanooga, Tennessee. At least 40 or 50% of everyone who gets issued a voucher new, right? So someone like you, they call and say, we have a voucher for you. 40 to 50% of those people lose that voucher in 90 days because they can't find a rental that will accept Section 8. They wait years, and then they're told they have a voucher, and they can't find a landlord that will accept it. And it's a problem all over the country. So one thing, I think you have an opportunity now to kind of start looking around to see what the rental stock is like in your area, who's accepting Section 8, and maybe it's an area that, remember, there's 19 or 20 different jurisdictions around the country that don't allow landlords to discriminate against people with Section 8. So, but I think do your best to try and reach out to the housing authority to find out what that word processing means.
Okay.
But I think it's a good thing.
So so it's a centralized application, and I'm kind of confused on how it works. So is it only for the town that I'm in Milton, or does that apply to all of Boston?
What state is it? Massachusetts. Oh, okay. So Massachusetts has a centralized waiting list system. So all the housing authorities in Massachusetts got together and decided that they should have one unified waiting list, and I kind of like it the way it works, because every housing authority in Massachusetts kind of uses the same process. So, but at the same time, it's still managed by each individual housing authority. So I think you should be able to at least keep logging into that Massachusetts centralized waiting list system. And Josh and Nate, if you'll at the end of the Blab, if you can post a link to maybe I think Massachusetts has a good frequently asked questions section. If you'll post a link at the end with some background information, and then honey, if you want to come back to the comments, and check that link, we'll make sure that we put your handle in the comments so you can find it.
Thank you for your help.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's try this one. What do we have here? Tabitha. Trying to connect you, Tabitha. And while I'm trying to connect you, I'll also try and connect Tara. And I might as well try and connect Debbie. Whoever gets in first, I'll answer your question. So Tara B, Debbie, Bobbitt, and Tabitha. All right, I don't have audio for anybody. Let me try the next one. Who do I have next? Talia, I think that's how. Can everybody hear me okay? If you can, hit the props button down in the bottom right corner. Okay. All right, I guess everyone else now is having problems connecting because I have accepted a bunch of invitations and no one is showing up. So let's try. All right, I have an open seat. If anybody wants to ask me a question, go ahead. I did have a question earlier in the comment feed before the Blab started that I wanted to address. And I'll start talking about that and then if someone comes in. But out of the Section 8 program. So the project-based Section 8 program is a Section 8 subsidy provided to a property, to a landlord, and that landlord has the right, when that contract period is up, to actually say to HUD, I don't want to do this anymore. We're going to start renting to upper income people, and we're not going to accept Section 8. HUD says at the end of the contract period, okay, fine, but you have to give us 12 months notice and you have to give all of your residents 12 months notice. So the poster asked the question, what do I do? What can I do? The big thing is that HUD usually gives something called enhanced vouchers to anyone who is in that dilemma. So you're given that 12-month notice, and make sure that the landlord did the notice properly. There's actually a procedure they have to go through, and we'll post some information in the comment feed on that for you. But make sure that the landlord did the notice properly, and then second, you got to ask them or HUD or your local housing authority how you go about getting the enhanced voucher. And the enhanced voucher is basically a voucher that you can take and use to pay that landlord the rent there. And in fact, I don't know that program really well, but I think you can actually take that voucher and use it somewhere else. But I'll do some research to verify that. So that's my advice on that one. Okay, I have Tabitha that's trying to get back in. I'm going to try. Tabitha, are you there? So I'm not the only one that has technical difficulty. It makes me feel a lot better. I'm going to open up a seat. Does anyone else want to ask a question? Looks like I have about 330 people that are subscribed. Debbie, let's try Debbie again. If anybody from Blab is watching, I'm not sure if this is us or them, but I'm just getting pulsating images of users' icons.
Hello.
Oh, Tabitha. Hi, Tabitha.
Hi. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, you
I'm trying to get you to see me.
Same headphones I had a little earlier.
Okay, how you doing?
Good. What kind of question do you have for me?
Just a few questions.
Okay.
One, I was just wanted to know.
Go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you right now. I lost video, but I can hear you.
Oh, okay. You can't see me? Oh God. You lost me. Okay, I can see my. Okay, so I have a few questions.
I think you're going in and out right now.
One, my sister was on the Section 8 list. They had said it was a lottery. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Do that.
How about now? Hello?
Sorry. New technology, right? Okay. So let's see, Diamond in the rough. I just accepted your request. Let's see. There is one open seat if anybody wants to ask a question. All right. Shamika, I think.
Yes, I have a question.
Shamika live from Sam's Club.
I had applied to the Prince William County Section 8, and this was back in 2010. And they sent out letters saying that we were going to receive a voucher by the end of 2012, December of 2012. I'm wondering, why would they send out letters for that and nothing happened? Like all of my stuff is up to date. I even signed on to their website to make sure, and it is. But I'm not understanding, why would they send me a letter saying that? And I was really depending on that Section 8 voucher. And then, like, now it's 2015, and I still haven't heard anything.
So, do you know that you're still on the waiting list?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So here is a very good example as to why housing authorities won't tell you how long it's going to be before you're on the waiting list. And this is one of the biggest beats that everybody has when they've applied for housing assistance is they can't tell me how long it's going to be. They can't tell me if it's 6 months or 3 years. And the reason why housing authorities choose not to do that is it's really, really hard to predict because that slot that you're hoping to get has to be vacated by someone else. And it's really hard for them to predict, the innumerable reasons why people vacate a voucher, whether or not they make more money, they were evicted, God forbid they passed away, they just decided that they didn't want to live under the scrutiny of the housing. They didn't have a reason why they didn't have a voucher anymore. But it's really hard to predict that. So we can guess as to how long it's going to take. For example, if you ask the housing authority what their monthly turnover is, and monthly turnover is the number of vouchers that they process each month. or annual turnover. Let's say they're processing 100, their turnover is 100 a year, which means they place 100 new vouchers a year. If they have 500 people on the waiting list, we can guess that's going to take about 5 years. So they may have written you that letter back then, thinking they're going to get down to you in a couple of years, and then something happened. The job market fell apart in your area, and people didn't graduate out of the program like they expected. And then all of a sudden, it's taking much longer than they're used to. And they've promised you that you're going to have a voucher, and now it's a couple of years later. There's any number of reasons why that could happen. That's why housing authorities don't typically do that.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't worry about. I wouldn't worry that you're not. You're still on the list as long as you confirm that. And I would take that past letter and just throw it. Don't worry about it anymore, because that was again you're wrong about.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
That's the first time I've ever heard a housing authority writing a letter saying we think you're going to be up on the list at a certain time. And again, that's the main reason why I think they don't tell you. It's really, really hard to do.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. We're going to try Diamond up again. Debbie Bobbitt, it looks like you're still haven't connected. I don't know what's going on. And I'm trying to accept a request here. I have one open seat if anybody wants to pop in and ask a question. While I'm waiting for everyone to connect, let me see if there's anything down here in the feed. There was some questions earlier that I have. Let's see. Okay, I would like information on Section 202 senior citizen housing. That's a good one. So HUD has a program called Section 202. It is it's a combination bricks and mortar financing program, which means that the subsidies pay for the construction of housing. And it also includes an operating subsidy, kind of like Section 8, that pays for the operations and pays for a person's rent in that housing. You have to be 62 years or older, and I think you can also be disabled to qualify for it. It's a smaller program, but it works very much like project-based Section 8. So you pay 30% of your income for rent. We have a database on Affordable Housing Online of all the Section 202 properties that we know about. So if you go to affordablehousingonline.com and search for your city, we'll have there's a market page. We give all the information we have about your city and town, and you'll see a description of the different properties there. And Section 202 is one of those. And I think, if you can still hear me, hit the props thing, but I think I just lost my monitor. Okay, good. All right, anybody else? I have no one waiting in line to ask a question. Oh, Debbie Bobbitt's gonna try and come back. Oh, it looks like we're connecting to Debbie. By the way, we have 1,686 people that have been in, and there's currently 336 watching. Another question while we're trying to connect to Debbie. I think Debbie's having similar problems with technology that I had earlier.
Hello?
Let's see.
Can you hear me?
How many things can I get with 2 adults being on my application, and how long is it going to take?
Hello?
All right, so here's a question. How big of a place can I get with 2 adults being on my application, and how long is it going to take to actually get a Section 8 voucher? First part of the question. If if it's two adults, you usually, and I'm assuming your spouse household, and usually that's you qualify for a 1-bedroom apartment, unless it's mother, daughter, father, son, whatever. If there's a child, you can usually get a 2nd bedroom. And then as far as a voucher, it's, and wait time for a voucher, again, I talked about this earlier, it really fluctuates. There's places in West Virginia where you can get a voucher in 3 months, and then there's places in big cities like New York where it's 10 or 15 years. So that really would fluctuate. All right, I think I might call this one quits. I don't have anyone waiting to come on, and Debbie Bobbitt, I'm sorry, but it doesn't seem to be connecting you. I don't know why. I'll make one last call for anyone who wants to come online and ask me a question, and then Debbie's going to try again. And then if you don't want to come on video, we'll respond to everybody over on the right side. And hold on. Oh, okay. Debbie asked, how big of... Oh, okay, I just answered your question, Debbie, by accident. I didn't even know. Okay, we're going to go ahead. I think I'm going to go ahead and call this Blab quits. We've been going for an hour and a half now. I'm going to try and do this every single Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Hopefully that works for everyone. Let us know in the comments. Let me know if this time is inconvenient. But I really enjoyed being able to answer everyone's questions and being face to face with our users. I don't ever get that opportunity. So this was a really great experience, and I can't wait to do it next week. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign out. Everyone have a good week, and I'll talk